I never meant to fall in love with the man I've called Uncle Mark my entire life, but the moment his rough, calloused hand brushed against my thigh under the Thanksgiving dinner table in our quiet suburban Chicago home, sending a jolt of electricity straight to my core, I knew I was utterly, irrevocably lost. My name is Emily Harper, and I'm 28 years old now, living in a cozy apartment in downtown Chicago after years of chasing my career in graphic design. But every holiday, I come back to the family home in the suburbs, the big, rambling house with the white picket fence and the sprawling backyard where I grew up. It's the same place where Uncle Mark has always been a fixture, ever since I can remember. He's not my real uncle, not by blood. Mark Thompson has been my dad's best friend since college, back in the 80s when they were both wild young guys partying at the University of Illinois. When I was born, Dad insisted Mark be my godfather, and somewhere along the way, the uncle title stuck. Everyone calls him that, Uncle Mark to me and my cousins. The reliable guy who's always there for barbecues, birthdays, and fixes when something breaks. He's 52 now, with salt and pepper hair that makes him look distinguished rather than old, broad shoulders from years of working construction, and those piercing blue eyes that crinkle when he smiles. Widowed for 10 years after losing Aunt Lisa to cancer, he's lived alone in his lakeside cabin up in Wisconsin, coming down for family gatherings like clockwork. I've always admired him. As a kid, he was the fun one, the guy who'd toss me in the pool or sneak me extra ice cream when Mom wasn't looking. As a teenager, I had the biggest crush on him, the kind that made me blush when he'd hug me hello, but I buried it deep. Because what kind of girl fantasizes about her uncle? I dated boys my age, went to college in New York, had a few serious relationships that fizzled out. Nothing ever felt right. Nothing ever made my heart race like just being near him. This year, Thanksgiving was different. I'd just gone through a messy breakup with my ex, a fellow designer who cheated with his coworker. I showed up at the family house feeling raw, vulnerable, dressed in a simple sweater and jeans that hugged my curves a little more than usual, maybe subconsciously hoping someone would notice me as a woman, not just the niece. The house was buzzing with relatives, Mom bustling in the kitchen, Dad carving the turkey, my younger brother cracking jokes, and there was Uncle Mark, arriving late with a bottle of wine and that easy grin. "Emily, look at you," he said, pulling me into a hug that lingered a second too long. His arms were strong around me, his cologne, woodsy and masculine, filling my senses. All grown up and beautiful as ever, I laughed it off, but my cheeks burned. Dinner was the usual chaos. Plates piled high with turkey, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, and Aunt Karen's famous green bean casserole. We sat around the long oak table in the dining room, fairy lights twinkling from the chandelier, because Mom insists on keeping the Christmas spirit early. I ended up next to Uncle Mark, purely by accident, or so I told myself. Conversation flowed easily at first. He asked about my job, my apartment in the city, how I was handling the breakup. Word travels fast in families. His voice was deep, reassuring, like it always had been. But as the wine poured and plates emptied, something shifted. Under the tablecloth, his knee brushed mine. I thought it was accidental. Then it happened again and again. My heart pounded. I glanced at him, but he was listening to Dad tell some old story, his face calm. Emboldened by the wine, or maybe by years of suppressed desire, I shifted my leg, letting it press against his. He didn't move away. Instead, his hand dropped to his lap, then slowly, deliberately, slid over to my thigh. Oh God. The touch was light at first, just his fingers resting there, warm through my jeans. But it ignited something in me I'd never felt so intensely. Heat pooled between my legs, my breath catching. I stared at my plate, fork frozen midway to my mouth, as his thumb began to trace slow circles on my inner thigh. No one noticed. The table was too loud, too full of laughter and clinking glasses, but I was on fire. Every stroke of his hand sent shivers up my spine. I risked a glance at him. His eyes met mine, dark with something unspoken. Hunger, maybe regret, but definitely desire. "Pass the gravy?" someone asked, and I jumped, nearly knocking over my glass. After dinner, while everyone migrated to the living room for pie and football on TV, I slipped out to the back porch for fresh air. The November chill bit at my skin, but it did nothing to cool the ache inside me. Chicago's suburbs in late fall are quiet, leaves crunching underfoot, the distant hum of traffic from the highway. I heard the door open behind me. "Cold out here, kiddo," his voice. I turned, and there he was, holding 2 mugs of coffee laced with bourbon, our secret tradition since I turned 21. "I'm not a kid anymore, Uncle Mark," I said, taking the mug. My voice came out huskier than intended. He stepped closer, leaning against the railing beside me. The porch light cast shadows on his face, highlighting the stubble on his jaw. "No, you're not. Haven't been for a long time." We stood in silence for a moment, sipping our drinks, the tension thick as fog. Then he spoke again, quieter, that under the table. "I'm sorry if I—" "Don't be," I interrupted, my heart racing. I liked it. His eyes widened slightly, then darkened. He set his mug down, turning to face me fully. "Emily, this is dangerous. Your dad, the family—" "I know." I stepped closer, close enough to feel the heat from his body. "But I've wanted you for years. Every time you visit, every hug, every look. It's always been you. He exhaled sharply, like he'd been holding his breath for decades. Then his hand cupped my cheek, thumb brushing my lip. God help me, I felt it too. Tried to ignore it, tell myself it's wrong. But seeing you tonight, you're so damn beautiful. And then he kissed me. It wasn't gentle. It was years of pent-up longing exploding in one fierce press of lips. His mouth was hot, tasting of bourbon and coffee, his stubble scraping my skin in the most delicious way. I moaned into him, my hands fisting his shirt as he backed me against the porch wall, his body pinning mine. His hands roamed, down my sides, gripping my hips, pulling me against the hard evidence of his arousal. I gasped, grinding against him instinctively, feeling him throb through our clothes. Emily, he growled against my neck, nipping the sensitive skin there. We can't, not here. But we didn't stop. Not yet. His fingers slipped under my sweater, tracing the lace of my bra, teasing my nipples until they peaked hard and aching. I arched into him, one leg hooking around his, desperate for more friction. Inside, laughter echoed from the house. Anyone could walk out, but that risk only made it hotter. Finally, he pulled back, breathing ragged. Come to my cabin tomorrow. No family, no interruptions. If you want this, us. I nodded, breathless. I do, more than anything. As he walked back inside, leaving me trembling in the cold, I knew there was no turning back. This forbidden spark had ignited into a flame, and I was ready to burn. Please subscribe.